Penguin Random House Audio presents The Afterlives by Thomas Pierce. Read by the author with Kirsten Potter. For my friend, Charles Thomas. The dog is on fire. She rips the cloth off the dining room table and chases him into the kitchen, but the dog slams into the cabinet, rattling all the china, and collapses on the floor at her feet. All his fur burned away. Her poor dog. How on earth did this happen? Her little dog is dead, and all she can do is scream for help. Part 1. Misfire. Exit heartbeat. Exit breath. Exit every mood, every memory. Exit you. To where? First, their voices. The nurses, the doctors, my parents. "He looks so puffy," I could hear my mother saying. "Is it normal he looks so puffy?" I was a rabbit pulled from the black hole of a magician's top hat. The doctor pointed to the television on the opposite wall and asked me if I knew what it was for. Thought he was joking. Next, he asked me for my full name. This question frightened me more than it probably should have. I was Jim Byrd, wasn't I? Didn't he know I was Jim Byrd? My chest was incredibly sore and bruised. Days would pass before I'd recall my collapse in the parking garage down the street from my office. A gash in my forehead had already been sutured. One of the nurses, a young girl with henna tattoos all over her hands and wrists, explained that the gentleman who discovered me at the base of the stairs leading up to P2 had administered CPR until the paramedics arrived with their defibrillators. "If not for him," she said, "you'd probably still be dead." Dead? The nurse blushed. To have mentioned the fact of my death, I gathered, had been a slip-up. She backtracked. Not an actual death, more like a figurative one, or rather, a technical one, an almost death. Sudden cardiac arrest was the diagnosis. I had a long history of passing out, though until now I'd always understood these episodes to be a symptom of a simple fainting disorder. Childhood doctors had advised me to eat more to keep up my blood pressure, but new tests revealed my true condition, which amounted to a vast electrical problem in my body. A misfire, my cardiologist called it. But was I really dead? Clinically. Dying, he clarified, was a process, not a single event. It was like a wave pulling back from the shore, the sand shifting color dark to light as the water leached out of it. Even where the sand appeared dry, sometimes you could dig down a few inches and find more water. You died, and then you died a little more, and then just a little bit more until you were all the way completely dead, or not, depending. For how long was I asked. Well, that's difficult to say. Given that you seem to have suffered no brain damage, I'm guessing not more than 5 minutes. You're very lucky. I saw nothing, I said. I'm sorry? While I was dead, I saw nothing. No lights, no tunnels, no angels. I was just gone. I don't remember anything. The doctor arched his eyebrows but was silent. What does that indicate to you? I asked. I wouldn't read too much into it. Read too much into it? I wouldn't give it too much thought, is what I mean. Look on the bright side. You're back. You're only 33. Still a young man. You have more life ahead of you, Mr. Byrd. To help guarantee this, he recommended that I have a device installed in my chest that would regulate this electrical problem, and soon thereafter I became one of the earliest recipients of a HeartNet, a very advanced implantable defibrillator that looks a little bit like a small onion bag, only with tighter mesh. The bag wraps tightly around the heart, squeezing it, fusing with it. Located at its top is a little shrunken head, a node, its brain. I'm told it's practically an artificial intelligence. That's how smart this technology is. If never powered down, HeartNet will keep my heart beating for as long as its battery allows, about 200 years apparently. Due to the longevity of its batteries, the device has actually created confusion in some cases. I understand that there have been instances where HeartNet has failed to recognize that a body has already given up on itself, and so continued pumping blood, undeterred. Hospitals have been forced to store bodies in their morgues with still beating hearts. My HeartNet is in constant communication with its manufacturer in Sheldrick, California, and I have the ability to monitor the diagnostics it provides in real time on my phone. A few taps on the screen, and an image of my own heart appears there, pumping and quaking. Blood flow through the 4 chambers is mapped as a staticky blue and red, outtake and intake. Beats per minute, electrocardiographic charts, echocardiographs, blood pool scans. It's all there at my fingertips. If you select a certain option, the device will even alert you every time it saves your life, which is to say, every time your heart fails to beat properly of its own accord. I experienced this for the first time about 2 weeks after the procedure. I wasn't running or lifting weights or having sex. I wasn't involved in any sort of strenuous activity whatsoever. I was simply sitting on the couch watching television. Receiving the alert, 3 delicate chimes like a call to meditation in a Buddhist temple, I immediately shut off the TV and dressed. I was wasting my life. I desperately needed to be out of the house, but where to go? I wasn't sure. This was a Friday night, about 9 o'clock, and I had nowhere to be. I walked up and down the road a few times, then came back home and read 3 pages of a book on the later Roman emperors before sitting down on the couch for more television. For weeks after that, I worried I wasn't making the time count. I'd been given a second chance, and I needed to take advantage. One morning, I got in my car and just started driving. West, naturally. Maybe I'd go all the way to the Pacific. I wasn't sure. I didn't have a plan. Crossing the North Carolina border and entering Tennessee, I felt alive. But by the time I reached Kentucky, the monotony of the drive had settled in and I lost interest. I spent one night in a nice hotel in Louisville, toured the famous bat factory there, drank some whiskey, and then drove back east. Not long after that, I bought a plane ticket and flew to Ireland. I drank beers alone in a pub in Cork and listened to some decent music. Then I flew to Munich to see an old friend who'd settled there after graduate school. And one night I went home with one of his coworkers, a German girl who spoke very little English. Seeing my scar, she ran her fingers along it gently, a look of concern and pity on her face, and insisted via hand signals and broken English that she be on top lest I overexert myself. I tried to explain that the problem wasn't the plumbing, but the electrical, but this only further confused matters. She showed me her toilet and held up her fingers. 1 or 2? A few days later, I returned home, to Shula, North Carolina. The White Hairs, we called them, the old geezers who'd flooded into Shula over the last 20 years and seized control of our local government and civic groups and boards. You sometimes got the feeling there'd been a convention, a gathering of all the nation's old people, and together they'd voted Shula as their new home. You couldn't really fault them for it. Shula was beautiful after all, quaint but busy, the Blue Ridge Mountains visible in most directions. The White Hairs really had become the backbone of our town's economy. Businesses thrived downtown, the antique stores and folk art galleries and sandwich shops. Most restaurants were successful as long as they offered early seating. Large, gated communities had sprung up to accommodate them, clusters of condominiums and townhouses with shared shuffleboard courts and swimming pools. To address their many medical needs and conditions, we'd added a second hospital, not to mention the various rehab centers and private practices. I'd had a front row seat to many of these changes in my capacity as a commercial loan officer. My uncle, a soft-looking man with a hint of a British accent acquired after only 2 years of graduate school in London, was an executive with a national bank. And it was with his assistance that I'd finagled my way after college into a leadership development program designed to train promising new employees for careers in credit analysis and commercial lending. I've been grateful for his help, but also surprised by it. My uncle and my father had never been particularly close.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?